Sometimes, the thing that breaks us is also what rebuilds us. This is a story about a man, a boat, and the secret that changed everything. This is Tide and Timber.
Heave or we will die today.
The night my wife left me, I was in my shed varnishing ribs for a sailboat I'd been building for 4 years. She walked in wearing an emerald dress I'd never seen before, heels clicking on concrete, and said the 5 words that ended our marriage. She said, "I can't do this anymore." What Eleanor didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that 3 days earlier a solicitor's letter had arrived. My grandfather's maritime trust, £12 million, harbour property spanning 3 counties. The letter came with one condition. It read, "Tell no one for 12 months. Prove you can keep the secret before you claim the fortune." So, the night she left me for a hotel developer with a Porsche and a penthouse, I was already worth more than he would ever hope to be. But I said nothing. I let her think I was broke. I let her think the boat was a waste of time. I let her walk away believing she'd escaped a dead-end life for the fool who chose sawdust over success. For 1 year, I kept the secret. I worked my carpentry jobs. I built the boat. I watched her post champagne sunsets from the Cotswolds while I ate cold sandwiches in a shed that smelled like varnish and turpentine. And then, her world collapsed. When she found out the truth, when she saw my name in the newspapers, when she realized what she'd walked away from, then she came back. She stood at my cottage door, suitcase in hand, makeup running, and said the words I'd once prayed to hear. "Thomas, I made a terrible mistake. My boat was finished. The harbour was mine, and I had a choice to make." Did I open the door? The man in the shed. My name is Thomas Aldridge, and for 25 years I made my living with my hands. Carpentry, mostly. Fitting kitchens for people who had money but no patience. Building bookshelves, garden sheds, staircases that would outlive the houses they stood in. Honest work, the kind that leaves you tired but not empty. I lived in a small stone cottage outside Whitby, North Yorkshire. The kind of place where the wind comes off the North Sea cold enough to cut, where the harbour smells like salt and diesel and history. Behind the cottage was my shed, tin roof, concrete floor, fluorescent lights buzzing like angry wasps. Inside that shed, under a single work lamp, I was building something beautiful. A traditional wooden sailboat, a Yorkshire coble, 22 feet of oak and larch and ash. Every plank steam bent and copper riveted by hand. I'd been building her for 4 years. 4 years of evenings, 4 years of weekends, 4 years of my wife Eleanor asking when I'd grow up and stop playing with toys. The boat had a name already, painted on a scrap of wood above my bench. Patience. I didn't know then how much I'd need it. Eleanor and I had been married 25 years. We met young, married younger, built a life that looked solid from the outside. Our daughter Emma had just started university. The cottage was nearly paid off. We had routines, traditions, a shared history. But somewhere along the way, we'd stopped being a team. She wanted things I couldn't give her. Holidays in Italy, a newer car. Dinner parties with people who talked about wine like it really mattered. She'd look at our friends upgrading to bigger houses, shinier lives, and I'd see the disappointment settle in her eyes like dust. "You're wasting your time in that shed," she'd say. "You're 52 years old, Thomas. When are you going to focus on us instead of that ridiculous boat?" I didn't have an answer that satisfied her, because the boat wasn't an escape. It was the opposite. It was the only place where things made sense, where if you did the work right, the wood didn't lie, where patience and precision mattered more than money. But Eleanor didn't see it that way, and I should have seen what was coming. The breaking. It was a Tuesday evening in October when everything ended. I'd been working late at a job site, fitting cabinets for a banker's kitchen in Scarborough. When I got home, every light in the cottage was blazing. Eleanor's car was in the drive. So was a silver Porsche I didn't recognize. I walked in smelling of sawdust and sweat, work boots muddy, and found Eleanor in the living room, wearing that emerald dress, hair perfect, makeup perfect. Like she was going somewhere important. Sitting beside her on our sofa was a man I'd never met. Tanned, expensive watch, the kind of smile that's practiced in mirrors. "Thomas," Eleanor said, her voice steady as glass. "This is Richard. Richard Cole. He owns the Thornhill Hotel Group." Richard stood, extended his hand like we were at a business meeting. I didn't shake it. Eleanor looked at me with eyes that had already left. "I'm sorry to do this now, but there's no good time. Richard and I have been seeing each other for 6 months. I filed for divorce. The papers will arrive tomorrow." The room tilted. 6 months. While I'd been building the boat, sanding ribs, dreaming of the day we'd sail together, she'd been planning her exit with a man who owned hotels. "I deserve more than this," she said, gesturing at the cottage, at me, at the life we'd built. "I'm 50 years old and I want to live, Thomas. Really live. Not watch you waste away in a shed building something that'll never matter." The letter. The letter was written in the formal language of lawyers, but the meaning was clear enough to stop my heart. "Dear Mr. Aldridge, we write concerning the Aldridge Family Maritime Trust, established 1953 by your grandfather, Captain James Aldridge. Per the terms of the trust, full ownership passes to you upon either A. dissolution of marriage, or B. reaching age 60, whichever occurs first. As of October 15th, your divorce filing triggers the release of assets, which include Whitby Harbour Marina, 18 berths, commercial lease agreements, fishing rights, Scarborough to Robin Hood's Bay, coastal property holdings, investment portfolio, total estimated value £12,400,000. I read it twice, 3 times. £12 million. This coming the same week that Eleanor filed for divorce. The same week she told me I'd wasted my life. The same week she drove off with a man who thought money was the same as worth. My grandfather, a man I barely remembered, a merchant marine captain who died when I was young, had left me a fortune that I never knew existed. But there was more. Clipped to the formal letter was a handwritten note. My grandfather's writing, shaky but clear. "Thomas, if you're reading this, your marriage has ended or you've reached 60. Either way, you're about to have more money than common sense. Here's my condition. Tell no one for 12 months. Not your wife, not your friends, and not the bloody tax man if you can help it. Sudden wealth will test you. I want to see if you have a spine. Don't chase the ones who left you. Choose people who choose you. Finish what you started. Prove you can build something that floats before you claim the harbour. Captain J. Aldridge." I sat there in the shed, rain hammering louder, and laughed. Not from joy, from the sheer absurdity of it. Eleanor had left me because I was poor, because I spent my time building boats instead of building wealth, because she wanted a man who could give her the life she deserved, and the universe had handed me £12 million the same week she walked out. But I couldn't tell her. Couldn't tell anyone. For 12 months I had to keep the secret. Had to let her think she'd made the right choice. Had to let Richard parade her around the Cotswolds while I worked carpentry jobs and ate sandwiches in the shed. I looked at Patience, half-built, ribs bare, waiting. My grandfather's note was clear: finish what you started. So I made a choice. I would say nothing to Eleanor, to the divorce solicitors, to anyone. I would finish the boat. I would work my jobs. I would survive the year. And I would see if I had a spine. The secret year. The divorce proceedings began like a slow-motion nightmare. Solicitors exchanging letters, valuations of the cottage, arguments over furniture, kitchen appliances, garden tools. Eleanor's solicitor was aggressive, demanding full disclosure of assets. I disclosed what I had to: my carpentry business, my tools, the half-built boat in the shed. They valued patience at £800 in scrap timber. I signed the papers without argument, let them think I had nothing. During the day, I worked, fitted kitchens for bankers and doctors, built staircases for people renovating second homes. My van was rusty, my tools were old. To my clients, I was invisible, just another tradesman in work boots and sawdust. No one knew. No one knew that the man measuring their countertops owned a harbour worth millions. At night, I returned to the shed. I worked on patience the way a monk works on illuminated manuscripts. Slowly, carefully, every plank fitted with precision, every joint tested and retested. The boat became my meditation, steam-bending ash ribs over a makeshift steam box. Copper riveting larch planks to the oak frames, caulking seams with oakum and tar, hand-sewing the canvas sails from Odyssey cloth. Some nights I'd work until 2 a.m, hands cramping, back aching, and I'd step back and see her taking shape. She was beautiful. Meanwhile, Eleanor's new life blazed across social media. I didn't look often, but friends, well-meaning friends who thought I'd want to know, would send screenshots. Eleanor in Richard's penthouse. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Cotswolds. Eleanor at a wine tasting. Crystal glasses, designer dress. Eleanor on a yacht in Santorini. Hashtag new beginnings, living my best life. Every photo was a performance. Every caption a declaration. I made the right choice. I'd look at those photos, then look at my hands, scarred, weathered, stained with varnish, and feel nothing. Not anger, not jealousy. Just the quiet certainty that she'd traded something real for something that looked good in photographs. I kept building, and then, slowly, I started using the money, not on myself, never on me. I paid off the cottage mortgage in one payment, structured through a solicitor so Eleanor's lawyers wouldn't see it. I wanted her to get her half of a debt-free property. I am not a vindictive man. I started a small foundation, anonymous, quiet, funding legal aid for single fathers in custody battles, paying tuition for kids whose parents couldn't afford it, covering medical bills for families drowning in debt. No press releases, no plaques with my name, just money appearing when people needed it most. I met with my accountant, an older man who understood discretion, in the back booth of a cafe off the A171. We structured everything carefully. Shell companies, trusts, investments in local businesses that needed capital but couldn't get bank loans. By day, I was humble and broke Tom the carpenter. By night, I was rebuilding lives, the same way I rebuilt patience. One careful piece at a time. Months passed. Winter turned to spring, spring to summer. Patience took shape, hull planked, decks laid, mast stepped, rigging installed. She was nearly finished. And then, one morning, everything changed. She finds out. I'd managed to stay invisible for 11 months. 11 months of secret generosity. 11 months of building the boat. 11 months of letting Eleanor think she'd escaped poverty. But, in month 11, A local newspaper ran a feature. Anonymous donor saves Whitby Youth Sailing Programme. £200,000 grant keeps historic club afloat. The article speculated about the mysterious benefactor. Someone with deep pockets and ties to the maritime community. Someone who understood the value of teaching kids to sail. The reporter had done some digging, found connections, noticed patterns in the grants. They didn't print my name, but they got close. Sources suggest the donor may be connected to the historic Aldridge Maritime Trust, established by Merchant Marine Captain James Aldridge in 1953. That was enough. Eleanor saw the article, or someone sent it to her. I don't know which. What I know is that 3 days later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Thomas. Her voice, tight, higher than normal. We need to talk. It's important. I said nothing. I saw the article about the sailing program, the Aldridge Trust. Thomas, is that your grandfather's trust? Silence. Thomas, please, I need to know. Did you inherit something? I could hear it in her voice, the calculation, the hope, the desperate arithmetic of someone realizing they've made a catastrophic mistake. I'll be in Whitby tomorrow, she said. Please, we need to talk face to face. She hung up. I stood in my shed, phone in hand, looking at Patience. She was finished. Every plank, every rivet, every stitch of canvas. Ready to float. My grandfather's condition. Prove you can build something that floats before you claim the harbour. I'd done it. The next morning, I got the call from Thornfield and Associates. Mr. Aldridge, your confidentiality period expires in 48 hours. The trust assets are ready to transfer. All we need is your signature. £12 million. The harbour, the fishing rights, the investments, all mine. And Eleanor was on her way. That evening, just before sunset, I heard a car pull up outside the cottage. Not Richard's Porsche. A taxi. Through the window, I watched Eleanor step out. She was alone, carrying a small suitcase. Her makeup wasn't perfect anymore. Her designer dress looked tired. She walked to the door, knocked. 3 soft knocks, like she was afraid I wouldn't answer. I opened it. We stood there, facing each other across the threshold. She looked older, smaller somehow. The confidence she'd worn like armor was gone. Thomas, she said, voice breaking. I know about the trust. I know about the money. I know what I did. Behind her, the taxi pulled away, leaving her stranded. Richard's hotels are failing, she whispered. Debt, fraud investigation. It's all collapsing. He's gone, Thomas. Disappeared, left me with nothing. Her hands were shaking. I made a terrible mistake. The worst mistake of my life. I thought I wanted excitement and money and I threw away everything real, everything that mattered. She looked up at me, eyes wet. I saw the articles about the foundation, the grants, the families you've helped. You've been generous to everyone except yourself, haven't you? That's who you've always been. She took a breath. Can I come in? Please. I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt you. But Thomas, I have nowhere else to go. And I think maybe we could... I held up my hand. Stopped her. Eleanor, I said quietly. Wait here. I walked to the shed, opened the doors wide. And there she was, Patience. 22 feet of perfection, hull gleaming with fresh varnish, brass fittings polished, canvas sails folded and ready. 4 years of evenings, 4 years of weekends, 4 years of choosing wood over wealth, Finished. Beautiful. True. I walked back to Eleanor, still standing at the cottage door. Tomorrow morning, I said, I'm launching that boat. The one you called a waste of time. The one you said would never matter. I'm launching her at Whitby Harbour. I paused. The harbour I own. Eleanor's face crumbled. After the launch, I continued, I'm signing the trust papers. £12 million. Maritime property. Fishing rights. All of it becomes officially mine. Thomas, You asked if you could come in, I said. Not cruel, not angry. Just clear. You asked if we could try again. I looked at her. Really looked at her. The woman I'd loved for 25 years. The woman who'd walked away when she thought I had nothing. The woman who'd come back now that she knew I had everything. I need the night to think about it, I said. Her eyes widened, hope flickering. There's a bed and breakfast 2 streets over, the Mariner's Rest. Tell them I sent you. They'll give you a room. Thomas. Tomorrow, I said. After the launch. We'll talk then. I closed the door. Gentle, final. And through the window I watched her pick up her suitcase and walk away into the Whitby night, alone. Inside the cottage, I sat at my kitchen table. The trust papers sat in front of me, unsigned, waiting. Tomorrow I'd launch Patience. Tomorrow I'd claim the fortune. Tomorrow I'd give Eleanor my answer. But tonight, I had a choice to make. And this time, I'd make it for myself. Thomas has until morning to decide. How will he respond to Eleanor standing at his door, desperate and alone? Does he open the door, or does he choose himself? Part 2 is coming soon. This is Ruin Afterwards, the place that tells what happens after everything falls apart. About the betrayal, patience, and choices we make when there's nothing left to lose. Stories about people who lost everything and rebuilt themselves. One careful choice at a time. If this resonates with you, you are in the right place.